You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Wellness Wednesday, as you already know. So you know what that means. It's time to catch up with Claudine Cooper and find out what's happening in the world of health and wellness. Claudine, good evening. How are you tonight?
Doing great. How about you, Mo?
Well, I'm at that point in the year where I start to get progressively down. What I mean by that is I notice the days are getting shorter. I notice that, it's getting darker sooner. We're at the end of summer. We're moving into fall. And with it, I seem to have a lacking desire to work out as often, as frequently, as fervently as I would, let's say, during the summer or in the spring. Does that make any sense?
Listen, that's totally understandable. I feel the same way. People think just because I'm in health and wellness, just because I teach fitness classes, they think that I am like always motivated. Oh, you must get up at 5 a.m. ready to work out. Not necessarily the case. First of all, I'm not a morning person, but I also feel impacted when it's dark outside. I don't want to go work out when it's dark outside. So 5 a.m. is not my time frame. It's usually always dark at 5 a.m. But in the summer months, we do have a longer period of daylight. And that is a source of energy. So when we have more sunshine, when we have more daylight, we also have more energy, which ultimately leads us into being more active. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But it also sounds like you're saying that there is a physical and mental component to this where, yes, the sunlight, vitamin D does matter, but also there's an emotional aspect where it's like, I feel my day is over because I'm leaving work at 6 o'clock and the sun is already low. I'm less inclined. I imagine someone's thinking this. I'm less inclined to put in that full workout because it's getting late.
Look, I've taught night classes at the gym for many, many years, and I notice a deep decline right around this time of year in my night classes. So 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., you just see less and less people September, October, November, December. Then January, we run into the New Year's resolutions. People can push through that darkness just a little bit just to get through their goals, I guess.
Also, and I don't want to be dismissive, I'm quite sure someone is listening right now. It's like, hey, Mo, my life changes every September. The kids are back in school, but that means I still got to pick them up. My day-to-day schedule changes. I don't have the amount of free time, quote unquote, that I did during the summer. Don't blame it on me as far as being lazy or just not wanting to work out because it's late. What about those folks?
That's a good point. In fact, I'm a mom, that I realized it's more than just bringing the kids to school. It's their sports, it's their homework, it's their activities, it's making sure that they have food, which I want to take a quick sidebar because this cracked me up the other day. My kids were in the kitchen on a Sunday meal prepping for the week. What? I said,
Wow.
I looked at my husband, honey, we've done something right. Now, of course, I have teenagers now, but just thinking back on the times when I had 3 younger kids who all had activities, it was much harder to fit in my own self-care, right? Be it exercise or whatever.
What about these teenagers now who are going back to school? When I was in school, we had PE and I was playing basketball, but I don't know what that high school matrix looks like these days. Are kids getting the requisite amount of exercise in their day-to-day lives, or do they, like adults like you and me, have to schedule that extra time in?
In short, I can say that the PE programs, much like the music programs and the art programs, are falling by the wayside. I've seen it in my own kids' schools, and I've seen it in other public schools where I have volunteered. I don't know if you know this, little sidebar. I used to teach healthy education as a parent volunteer in the public schools where I would teach kids how to avoid snacks that were unhealthy and opt for snacks that were healthier. I would introduce them to foods like edamame or hummus, things that they could take with them and eat. I even have a funny little story from back then where one of the grandmothers came and she said, my grandson made me go get him seaweed. She said, I've never had seaweed before. And actually it's pretty good. So the young kids are putting on the older generation of, some healthy snacks. That was a sweet moment.
You introduced something that I forgot about in this health and wellness discussion, the importance of diet. And I noticed that my diet tends to change as the seasons change. One, because if I'm inside, I'm less inclined to go out and get that healthier food. I'm just reaching for whatever's around or whatever may be available. Now, my wife may meal prep, but that's not me. I'm eating from meal to meal to meal. What have you found? Do you find that people's dietary routines also change with the seasons?
First of all, you and I have so many similarities, Mo. You and I are both married to early birds. We're both married to meal preppers, and we're both lazy with our nutrition, and we both like to stay up late. I mean, we work out. We're good about getting our exercise. But yeah. So anyway, saying that to say, this is the period of comfort food. We are now in the fall season. We are entering into the holidays. This is where comfort food, dark nights, early dark nights, watching your shows, eating while you sit on the couch, all feels so good right now, doesn't it, Mo?
It feels really good. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting down right now enjoying this conversation with you, Claudine Cooper. Now, I know that you working at Iconics Fitness in Inglewood, you have this, I'm quite sure, a swell of new clientele. People are appreciative of the new gym and all that it affords, but will you see a decline as we get deeper into the fall and into the winter?
I'll have to keep you posted, because when things are new, people are so excited. I'm telling you, I see people every single day coming into the gym, taking group fitness classes, lifting weights, bringing friends, bringing family. And it's just, I got to be honest with you, Mo, having lived in this neighborhood for almost 25 years, knowing that we needed some health and wellness resources, especially something to this level, and finally being a part of this has been such a full circle moment for me. Just the fact that I've created wellness resources in the neighborhood, but to get to be part of this big movement and seeing people benefit from it. Wow. Just like I'm full. That's all I can say.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to see. I know this has been a gradual process, not only for you, but the city of Inglewood. If you're just tuning in, my guest right now, as always on Wednesday, this Wellness Wednesday, is Claudine Cooper. You can always find out more about her and her work at ClaudineCooper.com. And when we come back, we'll always remind you, and this one more time, we'll remind you of her free community workouts, both online and in person, how you can be part of it and get yourself on the road. Maybe you're already on the road, but keep on the road to better health and better wellness. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
We're talking about all things health and wellness, but also as the seasons change, maybe our schedules change. Maybe our lack of motivation may increase. You may have noticed that the days are getting shorter. I always notice that the days are getting shorter, and it changes my approach to my fitness routine. So, Claudine, I was thinking over the break, I was wondering about how we can either better motivate ourselves, or is motivation even a part of the equation? Because when we first started talking, when you first came on this show back in 23, I asked you about the New Year's resolution and how people probably usually tapered off at this point in the year. And so they have to get back on track for the new year come January 1st. What is it about motivation which is real or not real?
At least once a week, I get this message in my direct message box. It says, "Hey, Claudine, how do I stay motivated to work out? What can I do to increase my motivation?" To be honest with you, there's not a single person, not a fitness professional, not a personal trainer, no one who is consistently motivated all the time. But when you're not motivated, you have to lean onto discipline. See, discipline is what separates the people who continue to go to the gym, even when it's dark outside. People like me who don't want to go when it's dark, but we still have to push through. Since I've been working at Iconics in Inglewood, I have noticed that there are people who are consistent at the same exact time every single day. They come in and they're not always motivated. I've noticed this. Sometimes they have kind of a bad attitude, Mo, not going to lie to you. And I'll say, hey, have a great workout. And they'll grumble. And then after the workout, I'll say, oh, you were a little surly this morning. And they'll say, I didn't really feel like coming today, but they came anyways. So what is the difference between leaning on the idea that you're going to be motivated all the time and then leaning into the knowledge that you have to sometimes push yourself and be disciplined? It's just like paying the bills. Do you want to pay bills every first of the month?
No.
Do you want to pay the rent? No. Who does? Who wants to see their whole check dwindle away to pay the bills? Not me, but we have to do it because we need to have a place to live and groceries to eat. So we do it even when we're not motivated to do it.
Okay, let me expand that metaphor. So we are continuing to pay the rent on our health and wellness. And if we don't pay the rent, then we have to suffer the consequences and get evicted. Okay, that's about as far as I can take it. But you also said discipline, and you have exhibited discipline as far as offering something meaningful and valuable to the community. You have your Friday online free workout. Tell us once again, what is that about and how people can go about being a part of it?
My Friday online workout was born in the pandemic. So it's just a virtual workout. We take 30 minutes out of our day. And on Fridays, a lot of people still work from home. That's one thing I've noticed. So we just hop onto Zoom. We do a couple little exercises, use some hand weights, dumbbells that you may have laying around, collecting dust at the house. And then we also do some cardiovascular exercises that can be done at any time of the day. Just a reminder that we don't need to go to the gym to necessarily get a good workout. So that's Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time. On my website at ClaudineCooper.com, you can request the link. Also on Saturday mornings, for the last 10 years, every Saturday, I have been teaching a free workout. And I did that because I live in a neighborhood where we were low on health and wellness resources. And 10 years ago, my free workouts were really probably one of the only ways that people could get out and get a great group fitness class in the neighborhood. And it's consistently stayed that way. So it's in Inglewood.
I got to tell you, I was driving through that portion of Inglewood the other day, and I know that it's a good thing that your workouts are in the morning, because after the morning, with the opening of the Intuit Dome, with the YouTube Theater, with the Kia Forum and SoFi Stadium, you got the games on Sundays, of course, now, either the Rams or Chargers, or it's a concert, an outdoor concert. It's a good thing your stuff is in the morning, because after that, it's more than difficult to find your way around that neighborhood, be it on Century, be it on Manchester. The good news is it's vibrant. It's great in an economic sense. The bad news is it can be difficult at times for the existing businesses trying to get in and out.
And the residents, Mo. I mean, look, traffic is definitely an issue for those of us who live here. I will say this. My workouts on Saturday morning, they start at 9 a.m. The parking is free. And afterwards, there's a whole farmer's market dedicated to plant-based foods, fresh veggies, fresh fruits, live music. So the neighborhood itself is still electric and vibrant. But yes, that traffic is, it can get a little hectic during those times. Yeah.
I do appreciate that farmer's market is right next to the parking structure. You can't miss it. And so after your workout, you can go reward yourself with some healthy eats and have a great start to the rest of your weekend. Claudine Cooper, I could speak with you all evening, but I got to go, and I know you're busy as well. Thank you for coming on this evening, and we'll do it again next week.
Business as usual. Thanks, Mo. Appreciate you.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And ever since the pandemic came to an end, as far as our work is concerned, corporations have struggled to find their footing, their balance, balancing productivity versus profitability. During the pandemic, I think it's fair to say a lot of corporations realized that either they didn't need all that office space, or they found that they could create a larger profit stream by not having everyone in these large buildings and then renting these office spaces when it wasn't really needed for the bottom line. But as they got further and further away from the pandemic, productivity became an issue where you didn't have the oversight. You didn't have the availability of some employees because they were doing their own thing most of the day. You couldn't monitor them in a classic sense. And for the past few years, we have been reporting on how different businesses, different corporations have been asking employees, and that's the first thing, asking their employees to come back into the office 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And I remember saying, like, what? What do you mean? Why are you asking? You're the employer. They're the employee. But I guess it was an employee focused workforce. Employees seemingly had more leverage. And a lot of employees were balking at the idea of coming back into the office 3 or more days a week. And then it started to change. Employers said, no, we are the employers. We get to decide whether people are going to be paid by us and work remotely or come in the office. And you saw more and more companies demanding more of their employees. To that end, Amazon is telling many of its workers to return to office 5 days a week. Growing up, I should say, just when I was a wee lad in the workforce, the idea of being told that I have to come in 5 days a week, what are you talking about? I mean, I wouldn't have a job. If you don't come in 5 days a week, sometimes 6, you're not going to have a job. And now we're in a world where a lot of these employees are saying, like, no, I don't want to come in 5 days a week. I need 3 days at home. I need 4 days at home. Why is it I just can't work from home? It's really weird. In a message posted to the company's website on Monday, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said the company believes that there are significant advantages to having employees in the office full time. Talking about work culture, productivity, stuff like that. The return to office requirement for Amazon is supposed to take effect in early January of 2025. So if you move to the other side of the country, thinking that you didn't have to come in the office, you might have to make some other arrangements. But like I said, it's not just Amazon. UPS, JP Morgan Chase, Boeing, with the exception of all the layoffs that you heard Mark Ronner talking about, they have called at least some of their workers back to the office full time. The mandates, I don't know. I guess they're not really making a difference because they're dragging their feet. It's like, look, when your boss says you got to be in the office full time, when? Starting Monday? That's what I'm thinking. No, we're going to give you till January 2025. It's September. Let's count on our fingers. October, November, December. You're giving them a third of a year? A third of a year to decide if they want to keep their job or come into the office 5 days a week. It's amazing to me.
I see this differently. I see companies like Amazon and others who are issuing these edicts to return to office. I see while on one hand, they're saying, we want you all to come back to the office. And they'll set an arbitrary date. Doesn't even matter. They could say, October 1st, whatever. It doesn't matter. I think what companies like this are doing is they are constantly weighing their options, looking at different AI initiatives, different AI programs that they can implement and get to the point where they can say, hey, we gave you all 3 months. Now none of you have to return because now we have managed to automate everything or all of your jobs that we now see we don't actually need you for. We can farm those out overseas or just do without you, period, because now we have, arty intelligence over here doing it for us.
I halfway agree with that. I honestly believe that all companies are making an ongoing assessment of whether they can use you or not use you as an employee, whether your job is necessary or not. And I always think, I think it's always better to be in someone's face so they actively remember you. It's a whole lot easier to fire someone who you never see, who you don't have any personal interaction with. And I think
younger people kind of lose sight of that, and they think a job is a job is a job. No, there are other factors into whether you will keep your job or not. And if you can demonstrate and make sure that the powers that be know your name, know your work ethic, know your value to the company, and if that means being in their face once or twice or 3 times a week or even 5 times a week, then damn it, I would do it.
Yeah, there's just several companies in California that are afraid of being sued some way or another, because California is very litigious, especially when it comes to workplace lawsuits. And they want to make sure that they put it out there. Hey, we gave them plenty of time to come back.
Agreed.
No one came back. And all the while, they could just be hiring people who will come in, do the minimalized work that's necessary right now, because they're already showing, well, we don't really need you here. We could do this with a different workforce. You're all fired. And not have to worry about that backlash of people saying, what? I'm fired. I'm suing. No, we gave you time to come back, and none of y'all showed up.
And there's something else, and I've talked about this before, but it bears mentioning again. It's not like I've never had a remote job. One of my first jobs in radio was remote when I was working for Ryan Seacrest as a producer for American Top 40. I was not in the office. I was working mostly from home, but it demanded that I was very disciplined. I was talking about discipline with Claudine Cooper, talking about working out discipline. Well, it's the same type of thing. If you don't have discipline over here, you don't have discipline in the other facets of your life. It requires a lot of discipline, and I don't know, but I get the sneaking suspicion that a lot of corporations are dealing with employees who may not be as disciplined as necessary. And then they're finding ways that they can work without them. And to your point, Tuala, if they can find someone else to do it or something else to do their jobs. Yeah, we talked about Chipotle, how they're automating. Every single job is looking to see how they can reduce their bottom line. The variable costs of employees and payroll costs and benefits costs. If they can get rid of those, then they're going to. If you're not going to make yourself available or make yourself invaluable, then that means you're making yourself expendable. It's real simple to me. It just tickles me that you're seeing these big, powerful, successful, multinational corporations bending over backwards and begging employees, please come to the office 3 days a week. All right, then. All right, well, we're going to ask you to come in 2 days a week. Well, damn it. You won't do that then. Starting next year, final offer, 5 days a week. Next year, though, we'll give you 4 months to think about it. And I believe everyone here on this show has had a remote job at some point. I know Mark Runner has. I'm pretty sure, Stephen, have you had a remote job at some point?
Yeah, it was like a hybrid because sometimes I have to go into the studio, but kind of like you, I was able to do stuff from home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you had to be disciplined. Yeah, you do. Because oftentimes nobody is telling you, it's kind of like college. No one's telling you to study. No one's telling you to turn in the assignment. No one's telling you to get your work done. You do it or you don't. And if you don't, you fail the class or you get it incomplete or you end up like Mark Runner with a lot of debt.
Yeah, you don't want that. Have you left out the whole COVID factor in this, though? I think a lot of people don't want to come back to a crowded office because we're in the middle of another surge, and most offices, most corporations aren't doing anything about it. They're not cleaning the air. They're not putting filters in the offices, and people are literally risking their lives to go back to work. We're in the middle of another huge surge with different variants.
I think that there is a percentage of people, but I'm more likely to believe that since we're probably dealing with a different generation of the labor force, a younger generation of labor force, they probably would be less concerned about that.
So with them, it's just laziness.
Well, I think so. I'll put it this way: when I was in my 20s, I was not worried about healthcare. I was not worried about getting sick. Pandemic aside, you're still kind of feeling you're invulnerable, invincible, and you're not thinking in those stark terms.
But we know, and we should make clear that young people are just as vulnerable to serious illness and injury from COVID as anybody else.
Yeah, but I don't think they're wrapping that into their equation of whether they want to come back to the office 5 days a week. I think it's more like, I don't want to be in the office 5 days a week because I don't want to have to go in the office 5 days a week.
Yeah, the two are distinctly separate in terms of the reasoning and rationale, because these exact same young people who are not returning to the office, and a lot of the people that these companies are targeting, they are finding ways to go to this party, that party, this get together,
right,
this bash, this concert, period. So
the hell with them then.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's not that, because there are lots of leisure activities that are driving people back out there. Hell, I was over at City Walk the other day and it's packed. No one is like, oh, we should be concerned about COVID. No, but these same people, many of who I know are not returning to work on Monday and taking these 4-day weekends. Yeah, that's not their concern.
Okay, the hell with them. They can roll the dice just like everybody else.
Wow, that was easy.
Yeah. You convinced me.
When we come back, we got to talk about how you can now renew your passport online. And if you're a traveler like me, that's a huge deal, because there was nothing worse, especially talking about the pandemic. Right before the pandemic, or right around the time of the pandemic, got my passport renewed. It was like, well, we can't go anywhere. But having to go down in person to do it was really, really problematic, and it took a whole lot longer. Now that they've made it available for you to do it online, it should change everything. We'll tell you about the process when we come back.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I know the summer is ending, but now might be the time to get ahead of the game and renew your passport. You may not know, there are some countries, if your passport is within 6 months of expiring, they won't let you come in. So it's not good to wait till the last moment to renew your passport. Sometimes people put it off. I know I did. And then you find yourself having to wait a long time to get it. I mean, you can get an expedited passport, and I think it may come in 6 weeks or something. But, you know, if you have an upcoming trip, it may put you in a bad spot. So don't wait till the last moment. And now the process may be a little bit more simple to do, where you don't have to get in that long line like I did, like my wife did, and stand there and have to wait for the person to become available so you can give them all your information and renew your passport. You might be able to do it online.
And American travelers can now renew their passports faster and cheaper than ever. The State Department has unveiled its new online passport renewal program just in time for the holiday travel rush. ABC's Janae Norman has the details on this ABC News exclusive.
A game changer for international travel. For the first time ever, Americans can renew their passports online.
I mean, we expect 5 million Americans to be able to use this every year.
The State Department revealing exclusively to ABC News its pilot passport renewal program is now fully available to the public.
Wait a minute. What do you mean the State Department revealed exclusively to ABC News? This was kind of like common knowledge, I thought. Because I just recently checked into my passport status and also my global entry. It wasn't exclusive.
The State Department revealing exclusively to ABC News its pilot passport renewal program is now fully available to the public. If you meet the criteria, an adult 25 or older who's had a passport before, you'll no longer have to fill out and print that paper application, mail a check, or make an appointment. The modernization, making it easier as a record number of Americans are traveling internationally. Last year, the State Department hit an all-time high, processing and issuing more than 24 million passports.
The process of applying for our passport online will be much more convenient for Americans.
It's pretty simple. You have to create an account to start the application process on the State Department's website, enter your old passport information and upcoming travel plans, and no more finding a place to get your picture taken.
For so many Americans, when you get your passport picture, it's a whole ordeal. You have to go somewhere to get it taken. Now you can do that on your phone.
You can upload your photo and apply completely online without having to do anything in person or send anything through the mail.
Just make sure to follow the guidelines. No selfies, a plain white background, and the photo has to be recent. Then check out with the debit or credit card, and you're done.
To be serious, I do like this, if only because I like to have all my information in a digital form. We talked about the California driver's license is now available in a digital form. You can use it in a few locations like airports, certain airports. I've already done that. I have a digital form of my California driver's license on my phone. What is interesting to me, though, and you've traveled, Mark, so you would get this. I'm surprised we're still using these paper passport booklets. Now you can have a passport card. There is a passport card. My wife usually travels with that. But I'm surprised that we still use, by and large, the same type of booklets as we did 60 years ago.
I like them. And it's harder to screw with them, honestly. It's a physical thing you must have on you, and it's got to have an actual physical stamp on it.
Yep.
But here's what's weird about that whole situation. Between your passport, your social security card, your birth certificate, and your driver's license, let's say that you haven't really needed one or more of those in a while. It's a huge pain in the ass to get those again. And so this is great news.
It really is. And if you have any intentions of traveling in the next year, take a look at your passport, assuming that you have one. And if it's getting close to that time, just go ahead and renew it, because you never know. You may just get some wild idea to go on a cruise, like to Mexico or something.
No, nobody's going to do that.
No, you wouldn't, but like Tuwala did. But you always want to make sure your paperwork is in order and also available.
Yeah, because if you have to, just getting your birth certificate is such a massive headache. Keep all that stuff current if you have an easy way to do it or to renew it. Because if you have to start over from zero, you're going to be wasting a lot of time going to downtown offices that you don't want to deal with.
You should ask Tuwala. He's told the story on air before. You should ask him his story of getting his birth certificate and his citizenship. It's wild.
I would hate for you to have to tell that again on the air so that everybody could hear it.
No, I can't tell it, but he has to tell it. Look, Tuwala will have to just tell us sometime, because he had to jump through all sorts of hoops. And it is, to your point, hell on earth trying to get that, especially if you weren't born here in America.
Oh, I happen to be born here in America. And when I moved here, I was trying to get all my stuff in order. Unbelievable hassle just getting my birth certificate so that I could get a new social security card. I think I had my first social security card when I was like 12, 13, something like that.
Same with me. Yeah.
No, nobody carries that stuff.
No.
And when I did find my original card, it had my little childhood scrawl signature on it. You need to keep that stuff current and save yourself a ton of trouble.
This is the part of the digital revolution I do appreciate. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Well, at least you've decided to listen to KFI. See, you're making progress.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio.